Alright everybody, Maxwell's Neighbor here. Today we are taking a look at the TC09 Optimus Prime from Transformers The Last Night. This is a Japan exclusive figure, but this is a re-release of the figure from from Age of Extinction, aka Lost Age, and that it was the Battle Command Prime. Or Battle Command Convoy. I believe they kept the same name on this one. I think they just called it Last Night Battle Command Convoy instead of Lost Age. But it is slightly different. Unfortunately, I do not have batteries in him, but I believe his phrases are different. He has some of the Nemesis Prime phrases now, and red LEDs in the eyes and in the chest. Instead of the blues that were in the original one's eyes, like you can see up here from the original artwork. They also changed the weapons. He comes with a new sword, which is the movie 5 style sword. We'll get into this sword, but this sword is a different mold. It looks identical to the one that comes with the Voyager, but it amazingly is not the same sword. So that's different, and the shield, which is an entirely brand new and more functional piece. So we'll take a look at that as well. So taking a look at the back of the box, here he is. He's almost identical to the existing one, but let's go ahead and take a look at the actual figure. Put that back there. Here he is. So right away, you can see the shield sword on the side here. Spin him around. The sword on the other side. I put the two other quad barrel guns on the back. And then he's got two small guns that are stored inside the trailer. We'll get to that in a minute. So as you can see here, the trailer is incredibly tiny. It is just a play pattern accessory to go with your electronic turbo change convoy, or Optimus Prime. I'm going to show off one feature of the trailer real quick, which is you can straighten out the connector, and it does have a little stand bit on it, so it does act as a standing hitch. Or the hitch acts as a stand, is what I'm trying to say. If you rock it in, it's a little more stable, but it does dip. So I'm going to have him in robot mode all the time. But it is possible you can stand that there if you want Prime on his own. So scooting this off to the side, let's take a look at Prime here. He's got a lot of heft to him. And the other one, the original, there was a magnet here that all of the one-step changers had, and since they got rid of that with all of the one-step changers for the new movie, it's just a pressure panel just to tell it when any figure is on that plate instead of the little magnet sensor they had right here. But that's a little press plate right there. You've got your button up here as well as your on-off toggle at the bottom. Like I said, I don't have any batteries in it. Your battery cover takes 2 AAA batteries. Nothing else really to be noted. The only other thing would be weapon storage. So, let's say for whatever reason you wanted just this figure. We'll get more into the accessories later. But you can, because this peg will be on the back of the robot mode, you technically can store something on the back, but it doesn't hold on that well. It's all there just for the robot mode. So as I said, we will get into that, but unfortunately the one peg on the back here is not really viable for weapon storage. So again, we will get into that later. So here he is. He's got some nice flame detailing. Pretty much what we expect from the movie Primes at this point. Nice little bits of silver picked out all around. Not a lot going on the underside. The back is picked out in silver. We've got more silver, silver, a little strip of blue, and guess what? Silver. So there's that. The only bit of silver that I'm kind of surprised about is the smokestacks here. I'm really surprised they didn't pick out in silver just because they did everything else, but either way, I mean, there's even some nice silver trim around the blue of the windshield, so I'm not going to argue. On the trailer here, it has the classic Optimus Prime stripe up the side and a silver Autobot logo. Other than that, it is completely unpainted, raw assembled gray and light gray plastic. And there are the two little guns I was talking about stored inside. that's really it for the trailer in its entirety. As far as paint goes, we'll get to mechanical features here in a minute. But first, let's take a look before I completely forget what I'm doing, because I am completely capable of doing that, at some size comparisons. We'll do some more in robot mode, but vehicle-wise, here he is with one-step hot rod, one-step drift, and if I was actually prepared for my own video, let's see here, so glad these are quick toys, there is one-step Megatron. So taking a look, you can see how big of a difference there is here in these vehicle modes. This is the only figure that's just too small. The 3-step turbo changer would be perfect to go with this guy, scale-wise, in my opinion. But I've got the leader and the Voyager and the 1-step of this guy, so I don't need that 3-step as well. So anyway, we'll get these out of the way. Let's take a look at the other feature of this trailer. So besides standing on its own and plugging in, there is a battle emplacement mode for this, and I have not transformed it into this one time because I don't want this feature. But this is a review, and I am going to show it to you guys. So let's pop off the guns, get rid of those, make sure all your weapons are off. You're going to pop open the rear of the trailer like so. Open out these fins. Open the entirety of this trailer right on up like so. And they tell you to flip the guns up. Show you this from the side. They tell you to flip them up till they're about 45, then flip them down like so. And then you bend that 90 degrees to somewhat square it off. And then the only other thing they tell you to do is to plug in one of these guns at each of these pegs. So I'm just going to plug them in here. Now, this is the battle emplacement / command center mode that they show off in the directions. Let me scoot the box out of the way so you can get some better contrast on it. It is not a bad display option for kids, but for the adults, we're not really going to be putting figures up here. We're going to be playing with Prime. That's kind of my only issue with it. But you can scoot that little arm down and stand it on its own. It does not stand very well, but if you would like a little battle station, you can stand it on its own, which is something the instructions don't tell you. So anyway, there is that. Now, to get this into its wing mode, because we're this close, we pop these off. Back off, I should say. All we're going to do is make sure that these bits are straight. Okay. Come around to the back here. There's a little tab and a slot. I'm just going to fold that up on either side. Make sure that this is completely pressed up and collapsed like so. It was out like this for vehicle mode. We're just going to collapse it up. And in the original instructions, you bring the guns like so into an L shape. And then on this side, you're going to flip the hitch all the way up and around like so, so it fills in that gap. And this plate is the wing unit that we're going to plug on. I, for the sake of storage, do like to also plug these guns in up here, but I am going to leave one of each of these off so that we can talk about weapons. Now, transforming the main trailer. There's a little bit of automorph. This button here, you press it, and if my giant hand doesn't get in the way, it flips open. Every time I press it, though, it kind of gets caught on my finger, so made for little kid hands, not made for my giant hands. Come on. There. So those flip back. That's your little bit of automorph. Now transforming the rest of the figure, you're going to reach in here, untab these two pegs from here, swing this whole unit back 180, and then you're going to bring the legs down here, split the legs. And this is cool when you try to see if I can get a good handle on this. As you bring this down, the foot is somewhat folded up and it'll just flatten out. But because of the shape of this thing, I know a few people complained about this toy when it came out because it just had the truck on there. But these giant heels are insanely nice for the amount of weight that you can put on the back of this figure. You take this whole assembly and just bend it down. Oh, you're supposed to bring it down with this so you expose the platform. And this giant butt skirt just hangs off. And then you come to the arms, rotate them around. There is a little hook and a little snapping clip. And you just bring them over. Peg in either side, extend the arms. The arms are not ratcheted at all, so they just friction. Also, again, this figure is not this loose. I'm just pressing down, and my table is very smooth, so it just keeps letting his feet go. But as you can see, he's not falling on his own. He's all good to go. But there is Optimus Prime on his own. Taking a look around the figure, take a look at the front. Very nice head detail, exactly what I would expect from a Takara Optimus Prime. The back is unpainted, but you do have some light piping, which I don't know if my light will actually pick it up. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have strong enough light for it to really come through, but there's some gentle light piping. It doesn't do that much. Some great paint on the flame deco on the chest. The rest of them, and a little bit on the arms. The rest of it's the basic blue and silver we expect. On the back is where it gets kind of messy. So he's got this giant butt flap. Hangs off, but this platform is for the gimmick of this toy. And if you're buying this toy, you're buying the gimmick. So I have to forgive it because this figure isn't pretending to be the most movie accurate thing. This was a play set for kids. You know, as I'll show in a moment, you know, if we want something a little prettier, we've got the Voyager and the Caliber Primes. Now we've also got the third-party masterpieces, so I'm not going to complain. Anyway, here he is, doing a plain size comparison. Here he is with Caliber Prime, the other Takara offering, and my Voyager Prime, whose sword for Christmas 7 months ago, I wrapped up in red and green pipe cleaners and never took off. But he also has the upgraded shield and sword, but you get the gist. So there he is. So he is roughly Voyager size, a smidge taller, but he's Voyager size. And he's just more of a playset figure than a standalone figure. Up to you, personal preference. I mean, this has kibble. This just has a giant play pattern hanging off the back, and this has big heels, and the rest of it is fine. So take it with what you will, because this guy doesn't have a perfect transformation. You have to parts form for Caliber Prime. So take it for what it is, and everyone make your own decisions with what's there. Now, taking a look at part of the main attraction of this figure, let me move some of these other accessories out of the way because I just mixed everything up and I don't know what goes to who anymore. Move these out of the way. Okay, here we go. So, attaching the wings, there are some clips up here and a little tab at the bottom. You're just going to hook it right over these parts of the smokestacks, and it's going to hook into that gap in the back. So we just bring that up and over top. As you can see, everything just kind of sits nicely up top there, and when you push it down, you'll smack into the camera. No, so once you line it up, it'll actually press this button too. So let me, come on. There we go. Sorry. So it's not supposed to press the button, it's supposed to clear it. But once you get it all lined up, again, lopsided guns because I don't have everything stored, but there he is. I mean, that's a big profile. When you compare it to that, or even this is a big profile for this toy. Not as pretty as this, but definitely a very cool play pattern. So, taking a look at the weapons, he can, not well, but he can hold, he does have the usual 5mm, but it's slightly offset because he has a peg in his hands. So he can hold either of these alternate guns he comes with, but they are more so meant for all these crazy 5mm ports lining the figure. But outside of that piece of play pattern, let's take a look at the main accessories. That being the sword and shield. Now the sword is fairly basic. It's got a little notch in there. You've got a peg right there inside the hand. And you just line it up, press it in, and he holds that dead solid. It's easy enough to get in, easy enough to get out, and he looks decent holding it. The shield is 3 pegs, but the one up here is the one we want to use for this. The other 2 are just for customization. You plug that in, and there you go. There is the shield with the Gatling gun extended. So, there is our Battle Command Prime all armed up and ready to go. And as I said, it's a very formidable toy when it's all laid out. Huge wingspan. I mean, like I said, this is before I stupid slippery table. Before I completely mess it up, I want to say this is at least a 12-inch wingspan, definitely. It's big. So, taking a look at the other main feature of the axe here, this comes apart, and this hook can be relocated up high. And when we do that, hook the axe up high, and now with these bits of the shield up high, there's a notch here. Put that in his hand, and now as you can see, Prime has an axe. And that was kind of what sold me on getting the reissue of this figure. Yes, you're losing the small short swords that Cade used, the rifle sword, which was nice because that was an official way to own that weapon on the original. But on this, we've got a shield that transforms into a giant axe, and anyone who's played Monster Hunter knows how much fun that is. So, there is that. There are plenty of other options, though. There are pegs and connector points all over this set. I do want to show, when removing the backpack, they do want you to open this and pull this up to get it off, to avoid damaging the figure. There is this part here, and there are multiple ways that you can sort of plug things into the back. There's a smaller peg on there so you can store the sword. The only problem is it has to go sideways, but it's there. He can also, because of the notches in there, he can actually hold the shield without the sides like a rifle. You can plug any of these in at whatever point you want, so he can have a half shield or an axe blade or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, I was hoping these could go together and become a shield and leave the rifle out, but they do not, sadly. But again, there are multiple play patterns with this toy, so he can use it minigun style. He can do whatever you want with it. It is a very versatile toy. Now, the last feature that I can't really show off because I don't have batteries in here, but I still want to visually show, is a size comparison with the one-step changers. Now, here is Drift, and I only have a few, but we'll show this off. Megatron, and Hot Rod. I have a Bumblebee and a Scorn put away somewhere, but not 100% sure. But as you can see, they're a great scale, except for Megatron, as always. But the main idea with this is that, again, any figure could stand on the back, and as you see, it doesn't take any real pressure. That button is just immediate, that whole panel is just depressed, and that sets off the action. So at this point, if you put a figure up there, especially one with a better stance than Hot Rod's tiny feet, something like, say, Drift, where he's got a wider base, you put that on there, and it would change the sound effects in Prime. So he does have a lot of options. Some of the last things I do want to cover is if you have another Prime sword, like the campaign exclusive version. Trying to do this without busting it up. The fit is a little tighter getting it in because of the extra paint, but yes, he can hold that sword perfectly. So if you have a campaign one, you're good. If you have any other weapons, like this is Caliber Prime's shield, The fit is a little too tight on this because this isn't a proper 5mm port. This is actually bigger, and this is only a 5. So unfortunately the caliber shield won't work. But per se, you had the transforming shield from Dr. Wu. Let me just open this up for the sake of space. That will peg right in perfectly. So your Prime can be all armed up and ready to go with a variety of swords and 5mm compatible accessories. And that really, I think, is one of the better points of this figure, is that you are getting a 5mm compatible playset figure. Now, I picked this guy up on Amazon. If you are in the US, Amazon Global Amazon Global Shipping from Amazon Japan has him for $50 shipped to your door. Amazon US had him for $70, but for my area it was same day delivery. So I pulled some strings and opted in to getting that, even though it was a lot more than I wanted to drop on this guy. Getting him quickly was definitely better than not. And I'm just messing around with the weapons and accessories there. As you can see, those 5mm ports do add up to some nice storage. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at Battle Command Optimus Prime TC09 from Transformers The Last Knight. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time.